Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman, senior editor behind thesteelcurtain.com, with you for another Steelers postgame podcast as the Steelers get absolutely lambasted by the Buffalo Bills 38-3 in week 5. Joined by Bryan Davis, Dave Schofield, as we break it down as we always do. Bryan, how's it going?
Wow. Could somebody get the license plate of that truck that hit me after they hit the Steelers? Oh,
not good. Dave, what's going on, Dave?
How's it going? What's going on? We just got smashed. Well, that was Coach answer. And you know what? He was exactly right. They just got smashed.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin, very poignant in his post-game press conference, as you can imagine. Want to get some super chats up here. Let's start on a positive note. Michael, we'll just say Michael G. He gave us a super chat $1. He said, accidentally sent a super chat without the chat. I want to say that I love all the content that you guys do, including the touchdown under and what Yin's talking about. I will also say that. Let me see if I can find the other one here. Here we go. If I was the head coach, obviously I knew what I was talking about. I'd be a head coach. I would have told Big Press to put a hoodie on, and every drive would have been a 4-down territory midway through the second quarter. Mike Tomlin is going to get a lion's share of blame, as he should, as should the offense, as should the coordinators, as should the defense, as should everyone that's involved with the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's going to be a lot of people upset. I get it. Let's go with Steel Dog 88 gives us $5. Is going to be brutally honest. The coaching staff as a whole was a complete failure this week from the top down to the players. Yeah, they deserve a lot of blame. No doubt about it. I think at the same time, though, you also have to understand that a secondary that consists of Elijah Riley, some guy named Jackson, I don't even remember his first name, James Pierre, Trey Norwood, and a banged-up Minkah Fitzpatrick, not really the best recipe for success going against Josh Allen and the Bills. That's just my own personal take. Knee-jerk reaction time, though. Bryan, what was your knee-jerk reaction after this drubbing?
I should have known. You should have known. We all should have known. But it happened, and I have a silver lining, so I'm going to throw it out there. The silver lining is this. The Steelers do not play Buffalo again in 2022.
Yeah, it would be it would have to take like a miracle of them finishing first place or something. Like the Steelers have to come back and win the AFC North to be slated with them. But still, okay. Dave, what about you? Knee-jerk reaction.
This team is nowhere close to the same level as the Buffalo Bills at this point right now. I mean, you can talk about all the things that they have, but you know that they're growing. And no, this team is nowhere close to the level of the Buffalo Bills at this time. It's going to be a rough ride.
Yeah,
but their most difficult opponent for the season, in my opinion, is now behind them. But man, you would have liked to have something to take away from that game, other than, wow, it was over not long after it started.
You mean something positive to take away from the game? There was definitely one positive I could say. We'll talk about that. Wilson Pava gives us $1.99. Said most embarrassing loss I can remember by far. I'm trying to think of one that would be comparable. I think Bryan is the Encyclopedia Britannica of BTSC. I'm sure he has one in mind.
Oh, absolutely. And they mentioned it. This was the worst loss since 1989, opening week 1 against the
Cleveland
Browns, 51-0 at home.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this one was comparable to the Bengals game last week, which was 41-10, where you just sat there and like, this is over. This is horrible. All right, the next one, Steeler Lee, I'm sorry, said gave us $1.99. So Tomlin said changes may come. Any ideas? Yes, in the post-game press conference, Mike Tomlin did say changes may come, with the caveat being may. Do you all foresee any changes? Bryan, we'll start with you.
No. I mean, the changes you make, guess what? They're not better than the guys you have.
Yeah. Dave?
That's what I was going to say. I'm like, what are you going to do that's going to be any better? Really? Can you name something that's going to be any better? A move you would make to make it better?
Is DeMonte KZ healthy? Can he return? I mean, these are questions that, again, that would be an improvement. Is Terrell Edmonds is Terrell Edmonds going to be cleared from the concussion protocol?
Other than guys coming back to be healthier, what other changes can you really do? I mean,
the only thing that I could say is, okay, so maybe you would say, all right, let's get Isaiah Loudermilk a helmet. Let's see what he can do. Let's let's get Calvin Austin back in the mix this week, and we'll see what we have with him. At this point, you're just throwing darts. I mean, it's sad to say, but that's where they are right now. Let's get some other super chats here. Evgeny Crosby gives us $4.99. So last year, everything was blamed on Ben. He was old, slow, no mobility. Once Canada got the right quarterback, we would take off offensively. Okay. Everyone's going to want to point the finger at Matt Canada. So, Bryan, you agree or disagree?
Yeah. I mean, that was the blame. Evgeny just said it. We said when this happens, when everybody gets on the same page, hey, the pages are there. Everybody has them. The coaching is terrible offensively. It's not good. It's not good anywhere right now. And somebody asked how I was going to put the sales pitch on this. It's really hard for me to put the sales pitch on this whole thing. I do have a way to do that, and I'll do that towards the end of the show. But the problem here is this Canada thing's not working. And I'm not that guy to bring out the pitchfork. But yeah, I'm joining the Simpsons mob.
Dave, what about you? You blaming Canada?
Yeah, 3 points isn't going to get it done, obviously. But man, what are you supposed to do as an offense when you're down that much that quick too? There's so much blame to go around. I don't know that you can really pin it so much on any one thing. I'm not saying don't blame Canada. I'm just saying that's just one thing on a list of 8 or more that you're going to have.
Well, I'll tell you what I don't like about Matt Canada, and I'll be specific here, is just like with the rest of the team. It's the inconsistencies. There will be moments in the game where you'll see an entire drive and you're thinking, man, that was really well orchestrated. They did a great job. I loved how Canada mixed it up. And then they go into this Randy Fietner, Randy Land punt or a run punt. Yeah, a lot of punts, but run, pass. And it's just, there's no creativity. I just don't understand those lapses. That's my biggest issue with Matt Canada. There were some good series, good drives in this game that, and my gosh, it's not his fault Deontay Johnson can't catch a football. So let's keep that in mind as well. Knight Rider 16 gives us $5. Thank you very much. He said this was a good game to gauge how far off the Steelers are to competing for a Super Bowl. Now, if you listen to my Let's Ride podcast, I had said that this was a rebuild a while ago. And I also said that the Steelers coming into this year were 2 to 3 years away from being actual contenders. I stand by my comments. I never thought that this team was a viable contender this year, even with Mitch Trubisky. And I stand by that. So no, they're not close to a Super Bowl. Anyone with 2 eyes and a brain in between their ears knows that. But Bryan, do you agree with my assessment? 2 to 3 years, or do you think it's longer, shorter? What do you think?
Well, yes, I agree with you completely, but there's nothing going on between my ears because I said on our show the other day that I still believe that this team gets a TJ Watt back. They start putting it together. They start catching balls that they could be a contender, and I'm dead wrong.
Dave, what about you in terms of them being a legitimate contender?
Define contender.
They're actually capable of contending in the playoffs, not just making the playoffs, but
yeah, that's what I wanted to know, because really, when you think about it, it's not that far off from being able to make the playoffs with seven out of the 16 teams going to the postseason. They're not that far away from that. But is that really what you're looking at? Because today shows you what it's like to go up against a contender. And as you can see, they're nowhere close. No. They're nowhere close. So if the goal was ultimately, winning the conference championship, you thought they weren't very far off when they took down last year's conference champion in week 1. But they were just, I said it on our show of the preview. I said it on the last minute thoughts. I said it on the Coach Tomlin press conference recap just a few minutes ago. That's already out there. The path to victory in this game was very narrow. And you basically erased it right off the bat. So it's the NFL. Any team can come out and just do something unheard of on any given Sunday. But right now, the Steelers are at 1-4. They'd have to put that back to back so much in order to get back in any kind of postseason talk. It's not that they can't win games along the way and maybe get back into the swing of things, but ultimately, everything they do, it's going to come right back to, well, they got handed to them by the Bills in Buffalo. You think they could go in there later on in the season and beat them? Right now, no way. All you can do is hope that this team can learn and grow and get healthy and bring it together more, because that's basically all we have right now.
2 to 3 years. I stand by my comments. All right. Tom Muir gives us $2. Says, boy, do we suck right now. Yes,
Yeah.
The Steelers do suck right now. And this was my first day wearing the Kenny Pickett jersey, which Brian Davis got me. Yeah, he got the DMR patch on there. So it sucks that this was the debut of Kenny Pickett and my jersey. So I did wear it, Brian. There you go. Nick Gabriel gives us $5. What is Najee doing? Jaylen Warren has more burst. I don't know, but it's not just the line. Also, I've had enough Chase Claypool losing combat catches. I still think of Kobe Hamilton every time someone says combat catch. But still, yeah, let's talk about the running back situation. Brian, what are your thoughts on Najee Harris? Does he look a little off to you?
He doesn't look right, because I know you're in a different situation in the fourth quarter when Jaylen Warren's in there, but he looks like he's fighting and finding holes a whole lot more.
And your thoughts on Claypool?
My thoughts on Claypool and Johnson are, what's up with you guys? You are playing far below your potential. You're playing far below what you think you're commanding also. A lot of people are upset with Chase Claypool. I'm more upset with Deontay Johnson. I thought Deontay Johnson dropped more balls. I'd love to see the stats on it. In fact, I thought Claypool looked a whole lot better than Deontay Johnson. And I've defended Deontay Johnson a lot.
All right, Dave, what are your thoughts on Najee Harris first? We'll start there.
I'm going to say this. Isn't it nice to actually have another player that you could talk about at running back that you feel confident that they could come in and get the job done? Because the Steelers haven't had that for a while. I'm just glad that there's someone else that you can talk about that could come in and run the ball. But honestly, Najee Harris, I'd have to go back and watch as much of the game over again as I can, because when the game gets turned off after the third quarter, because it was such a blowout and you have to listen to the last quarter on the radio, it makes it kind of difficult. But I can't put my finger on it. I really don't know what to say about Najee Harris. I don't know if he's just not right health wise, or just feels like too much is on his shoulders. I don't know, or if the Steelers are even tipping off their plays when it's going to Najee. Just something isn't right there.
And what about Chase Claypool?
I'm kind of with Brian. I feel like these two receivers. I mean, I kept saying the Steelers, people wanted to trade one of them before the season started to get something for him. Like, these are the only two guys that have catches for the Steelers coming in from last year. They need two guys at least coming in to at least have been part of this team and understand a little bit what's going on and not completely starting over from scratch. And to me, those are the two guys that are letting the team down more than anything else from a receiver standpoint. Now, like the throw back into the middle of the field to Deontay Johnson, yeah, he got both hands on it. Once again, could have caught it. But that's not a wise pass when you run to the sideline to throw back in the middle of the field like that. They're lucky it wasn't picked off. But it's going to take some time with the rookie quarterback for everything to come together. Right now, the receivers, whether it's Johnson or Claypool, they've got to do everything for their young quarterback to give him a chance. You can't be the problem right now. You can't be someone who's been here for several years and be asked if you're part of the problem.
When I think about Najee Harris, to me, it comes down to sometimes players in the lines don't necessarily mesh. They don't match up well together. Jaylen Warren's a guy that gets the football, he's hitting the hole. He's not hesitating. And if he has to run up the back of a lineman, so be it. Maybe Najee Harris needs to take a page out of that book and start adapting his play and not expecting the offensive line to necessarily adjust midseason. It might come eventually, but as of right now, I mean, maybe he is still banged up. I don't know. But Jaylen Warren's style, at least from a stylistic perspective, it seems to fit this offensive line better. So that's what I'm going to say about Najee. I don't think he's awful. I don't think that he's, a bust or anything like that. Not right now. No, I'm not saying that at this point. In terms of the receivers, making the difficult catch is fantastic. I just want them to make the routine catches. You think about the 4th and I think it's 6 in the second half. Pickett throws a perfect throw to Deontay Johnson. You catch it, you pull it into your body, you live to play another down. He kind of keeps it away from his body and he gets disrupted, and then the ball gets taken to the turf, and they end up having to turn it over on downs. Make the routine catches, and then if you sprinkle in some of these fantastic catches, the sideline catches, the toe taps, which Deontay Johnson is not Tony toe tap, we'll put it that way. That's what I want from the receiving standpoint. Let's get Tyler W's $5 tip here. Thank you, Tyler. He said, playing the best puts things in perspective. After Kansas City last year, I thought the Steelers changed in the offseason. The difference was the Bills didn't pull punches. No, they didn't. They did not pull punches. And it didn't take long for that to be glaringly obvious in this game, where you have one of those things that, man, right off the bat. And when, I didn't get to see the beginning of the game. We're kind of following it and figuring out what was going on. I hate DirecTV. I'll talk about that on my Let's Ride podcast. Yeah. But still, it was a situation where when you see what happened and they muffed the kickoff, they started the 2-yard line on a 3rd and 10. They hit a 98-yard pass. And then on the ensuing kickoff, James Pierre muffs it. Now, thankfully, they did not score points on that because they missed field goal. It was just a nightmare. It was a nightmare. Noah gives us 2 Canuck bucks. Is Warren better than Najee is the question. This is a tough one considering sample size, but Bryan, we'll ask you the question. What do you think?
I think if he was, he'd be in there full time.
Okay. Dave?
I just like the idea of using 2 different running backs of 2 different styles, and you don't have to just lean completely on one or the other. That's what the Steelers, I think, would be well suited to do moving forward.
Running back by committee. Meat Whip 21 gives us 5. Is that a euro? Is that what that
is?
Sure. Okay. It's from Germany. He says, I now understand why there's never any Steelers coordinator that gets a head coaching interview. Greetings from Germany. Thank you. Meat Whip 21. Appreciate it. I can't think of the last time a Steelers coordinator out after Ken Wisenhunt or Mike Mularkey got even any consideration. Can you all think of any? Todd Haley, if you count the USFL or XFL, wherever he went.
Yeah, Haley wasn't getting any nods.
No, he wasn't. But
I'll also ask you one thing. What's the job? Is to hire the best coach that could someday be another head coach, or to hire the best coach to coordinate that side of the ball? I mean, look at Dick LeBeau. He was a terrible head coach, but you're not going to talk about him being a terrible defensive coordinator. Just because you hire someone that's good at that doesn't mean, you're making terrible decisions because they couldn't go on to be a head coach. Who's going to say that having Dick LeBeau was a terrible decision as a defensive coordinator? I'm not going that far. I'm not saying that's what's happening here either, but you also have to remember that's another perspective to look at.
Yeah. Matty Peverill gives us $2.99 in dingo dollars. He said, Randy needs to do us a favor and invite Canada out of town. Oh, man. I mean, this is, I think Bryan said it best. He said, there's so much blame to go around that you don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
You really don't. So let's do it this way. Instead of, we're going to go through the numbers and stuff. Let's talk positives. Can we get some positives out there? Bryan, give me a positive from this game. Anything, even if it was that the game ended. Like, what is a positive for you?
George Pickens.
Yeah, there you go.
He catches pretty much everything that comes his way. I'm not sure what the targets, but it seems like when you see it going towards 14, you feel so much better. You feel like that future is there. Pickens to Pickett. I'm not going to absolve anybody, but the best player the best wide receiver on that field wearing white was definitely George Pickens, and he's a rookie. And when Dave says that, these veterans, the guys that had experience catching the ball, needed to lead the way, they should not be conceding to George Pickens, but it's happening.
Dave, a positive for you.
I love James Daniels.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Way to come in and take care of things that other people weren't taking care of. You did the right thing. You stood up for your guy. Thank you.
I'll take that a step further. I have another player that I think it is a positive, but I like the fight in some players. Okay, so like Kenny Pickett at the end of the game, fourth quarter, Shaq Lawson tackles him. He thinks it's low. It kind of was. And he takes umbrage to it, gets up, and he decides I'm going to take matters in my own hands. I don't like the quarterback necessarily being in that scrum. I think Chuks Okorafor was in there for maybe 2 seconds and said, I'm out of here. But still, I don't mind them. Hey, if the refs aren't going to call those plays and they're going to let them get away with some of this stuff, you're going to have this. The officials, I thought, let this get out of control. But for me, a positive was Kenny Pickett. No, 38-3 as in a loss is not something you hang your hat on and say, that was my first career start. Like, yeah, look at that. I thought there was a lot to like about Kenny Pickett. Did he make mistakes? Absolutely. Were there rookie mistakes? You bet. Did he also show some ridiculous poise, the ability to stand in the pocket when he's getting popped in the mouth over and over again? He got back up. I still want to see a little bit of help on the other end, meaning the pass catchers, but still, I thought Kenny Pickett, I thought he got acclimated himself properly to the NFL as in his first career start. Let's get Jason Purdy, gives us 499. Said this game exposed Tomlin for sure. We are so poorly coached top to bottom, especially Claypool and Deontay. Make Pickens a number 1 and screw it, Sims number 2. Okay, let's go this route then. How much are we putting on the coaching staff right now? I think that's a good place to go after that tip. Bryan, what do you think?
You know what? Mike Tomlin, when he said that, everybody sucked, the blame goes all the way around too. He basically said that because he, like Dave said, he continued to say we got smashed. And when they asked about changes, they asked about the coaching staff. He basically said, hey, we were all the way around. It's really, this is tough for me because I don't want to be the guy that is putting some sugar on some stuff, but think about this. And this is where I am making excuses. I did not sign up for Josh Jackson. Is that his name? Josh?
Yeah.
I didn't sign up for number 16. I didn't sign up for James Pierre being back there. I didn't sign up for Trey Norwood, but that was the hand that was dealt. I don't know who was going to make lemonade out of those lemons today. I'm not sure. I saw on the offensive side, I thought it was terrible. There was a couple plays that I didn't like. On 4th and 5, I was going for it on 4th and 5 because of the wind. And I just didn't like that idea. I was going for it. I wasn't sure about 4th and 13, but that was late in the game. But missing those 2 kicks hurt too. Hey, Boz, he's our guy. We love him. But you know what? You can't absolve him either. You got to, other players know how to go ahead and kick in the wind. Now, I didn't want to see those guys out there. Buffalo, you saw on the title. Buffalo was outmanned. I put it. An outmanned Buffalo overwhelmed the Steelers. So that's not, I'm not excusing everything for this, but I'm still that guy that thinks that it's not the coaches that are dropping footballs. Schemes are one thing, having them ready, that's another thing. And I get it. We all have our scapegoats that we want to have point a finger to, and that's fine. And I have no problem with that. If you think that you want to get rid of the head man, not sure who's better right now, because I'm not sure who's going to do better in this situation. The offensive coordinator, I'm kind of on that train. I'm done with the scheme. I think it's terrible. I think it's absolutely terrible. Somebody mentioned in the live chat, hey, Flores for defensive coordinator. Flores is a part of the chemistry set that's putting this all together. So we have these different people that we like, these different people that we don't like. The bottom line of the whole thing, the Steelers sucked today. That includes the guys that I love. Everybody as a collective, they were bad. Is there a silver lining? Yeah, I'll probably give you a silver lining at the end of the show. But right now, it's terrible.
Dave, in terms of blame game, do you put it more on the coaches or the players?
I put it on everyone. There's no one that's free of blame. I mean, you could talk about, oh, well, Kenny Pickett, his first start, did everything he could. But I mean, there's a few players here and there, but you can't say that there's someone who's set aside from blame. It goes from the players top to bottom. It goes from the coaches top to bottom. No one is excused from a game like this. And for people that want to put it all on players or all on coaches, I'm going to tell you you're wrong, because it's on both of them. It really is. So it's just how it goes. And also for those people that are like, this team is so talented and the coach, where are you seeing that talent? I mean, you look at Buffalo, there's talent. I mean, the Steelers couldn't get anywhere close to getting home to Josh Allen. The offensive line is doing things. The wide receivers are doing things. The defense, next man up philosophy they're doing things. They're holding the Steelers off. Sometimes it's just not your day, is what you kind of have to look at when players that are usually your solid as a rock players, like a Chris Boswell, missing 2. Granted, they shouldn't have even been kicked, but still missing 2. When it's Minkah Fitzpatrick, on a long pass, the both of them have their hands on it, and it seems like for a second he's the one ripping it away, and then he loses it. It's just sometimes you just have one of those days that nothing goes right. But the problem is is it one day, or is this what we're going to expect every day? Because you can't have this every day. You've got to get rid of this day and make it a new day. And that's coaches, that's players, that's everything.
Israelite Acquiring Knowledge gives us $5. Says Canada should have never been hired, and Austin has always been an average defensive coordinator. They're Tomlin hires, and he gets no pass. Okay, like I said, a lot of people are going to blame the coaching staff. I get it. There's plenty of blame to go around. We'll put it that way. All right, let's get some more up here. Wilson Pava gives us $9.99. Pickens is a legit wide receiver 1. KP8 looked like a fighter. Daniels has been consistently improving and protecting KP8 like a champ. What the Steelers need is our defensive backs and a different OC and DC, offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. How do you justify 41 on Diggs? He's talking about Robert Spillane. No, you can't. And what you realize, too, is that what the Steelers wanted to do is that they wanted a 3 safety look in certain packages. They don't have their 3 safeties. DeMonte KZ was that 3rd safety, and so that's what Robert Spillane's doing out there. So if and when they get all 3 healthy, you might not see Robert Spillane as much in those passing situations. Jason Purdy gives us $9.99. So Tomlin makes the same excuses and never makes any significant changes. Not a lot of accountability going around. Players made mistakes, but it's the same stuff every year. I'll even give Rooney blame. Okay. Go ahead, Dave.
Never make significant changes. They went to their other quarterback this week. Don't say never. I mean, come on. I mean, could they make more changes? Sure. I don't know what these changes are going to be to make this team suddenly as good as the Buffalo Bills, other than say, let's go back in time and just get different players. But to say never made change, he went to Kenny Pickett at halftime last week and everything. So don't say never when that comes out. I mean, yeah, that bothers me.
That's true. And let's also remember one thing here, folks. There's a lot of people that are already looking ahead, like off-season moves. Remember that there's a new general manager, new personnel department. We have no clue what that's going to look like, and I'm not talking about it right now after week 5. Brent Green gives us $5. He said, if this becomes a consistent problem with Tomlin, why did the Steelers not look at Eric Bieniemy or a college coach? Well, if you're talking about coordinator, I hate to tell you this, but Matt Canada was a college coach, and he was that college mind that a lot of people
was the big college guy that was going to be the next NFL thing.
So keep that in mind. In terms of head coaches, I mean, you look at some of the college coaches that have come up to the NFL, not necessarily the best track record. So I don't really want to go down that rabbit hole because it could be long and exhausting all at the same time. All right, let's get this $4.99 Leo C. Thank you for the tip. He said, we knew this stretch was going to be tough with Pickett coming in for week 5. It can only get better from here. I'm going to add in, right? Right, guys? Yeah. It can only get better from here, right? It can't get worse. right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. The super chats continue. Brandon King gives us $9.99. He said, "Is the way the Steelers do business outdated? Retool, not rebuild. Is it working? When you build through the draft but finish way short of a Super Bowl, is it worth it? Haven't been Super Bowl competitors since 2017." Well, remember, if you're on the Jeff Hartman plan, this is still part of that process. Yeah, you hope to win games during your rebuild, retool, whatever you want to call it, but they're not done. This is not it. This is not them saying, haha, we did it. They are obviously trying to rebuild their roster. They've done a lot of work on the offensive side of the ball. Very young on offense. Defense is now where the attention is probably going to go, especially the defensive line. Dave's clamoring to talk. What do you want to say, Dave?
How many higher draft picks have the Steelers had in recent years since one Trent Jordan Watt that we feel like as fans that they're really doing something as rookies, and then we're really worried about how they're panning out as they're getting towards the end of their rookie contracts?
How many
is that? I mean, just higher draft picks. You know, even 2 years ago, Kevin Dotson is a rookie. He looks to be doing great. He now seems like he's one of the weaker spots on the offensive line, but the offensive line isn't the huge concern that we thought it was going to be coming in. You know, and someone like a Chase Claypool who took off crazy as a rookie. Now people were ready for them to be done. Devin Bush, same kind of deal. So the question is that player development? Is that player? Is that coaching? Is that assessing the player whenever they come out? People are now doing the same thing about Najee Harris. So as they move past that first year and the future is bright, I don't have the answer to that, but that is something you kind of have to look at in recent years.
Bryan, you haven't spoken in a while. Anything you want to add?
I'm speechless right now. I am absolutely speechless. I mean, everybody is grasping at straws right now.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to talk about the Buccaneers game at this point.
Well,
really.
Hold on. Answer this one, Bryan. This is from Steeler League. He's $1.99. Thank you very much. He said, does AR2, Art Rooney II, deserve blame for years of complacency? What do you think?
You know what? Look back. I mean, I've followed this team through the 80s. I've followed through the 98, 99, and 2000 when the sky was falling and everybody wanted Bill Cowher replaced. I've watched these things. They were blaming Dan Rooney for being complacent. Why won't they fire Cowher? But they always seem like they have a plan. You know, the one thing that R2 said 2 years ago is we're going to get a running game here. We have got to get a running game together. He brought the running back in, and they try to improve the offensive line. I don't think it went the way they wanted to. One thing that I'm going to say, and I'll get poo-pooed on, and I have no problem for that, but when you're drafting all these years at 20 and 24 and like 17 is your best draft position, all these years, even through missing the playoffs, you're still drafting in the 20s. You're not getting those superstars that Jacksonville, who's playing well, Buffalo, and the Jets, who had a good couple of weeks. You don't have those guys. The Steelers consistently win with guys that are picked in the last part of the first round of the draft. And this will go back. I heard somebody say, I'd love for the Steelers to get a cornerback in the first round, but they don't know how to draft corners. No, the corners that you're drafting in the 20s, when you do draft one, not as good as a franchise guy that you would get at number 3 if you're continually drafting up there. So those teams that are always drafting in the top 5, they're going to do a whole lot better, because guess what? Their second round pick is the equivalent, is picked not that far away from where the Steelers have been drafting in the first round. So, we can go ahead and blame Art Rooney too for the complacency, but he's seen this formula work for a long, long time. And I'm reaching with my excuses. So, hey, what do you want from me? Either they suck and you don't like the team and you go away, or you say, hey, we're at the beginning of this whole thing. We're here. We're at the beginning. We're going to see what this team looks like Jeff said, in 2 to 3 years. That's what you look at here. You might be on the ground floor or something. Sometimes you do have to push the reset. I wasn't ready to push the reset yet. Now I'm a lot closer to doing it. But if you want to bail on this team, go ahead. But you know what? I'm sticking around. And here's the reason I'm sticking around. Because they're putting some things together. And this formula has worked before. Fire everybody you want to fire. Go ahead. But you don't have the opportunity to do that because you don't own the team. You've been a fan of this family-run team since 1933. And if you haven't been, because you weren't alive, your parents were. And you're descendants of Steeler fans. And that is what has happened with this team. So go ahead. I mean, there's no answer right now. The answer is be patient. They're going to turn it around. We don't want to be patient. We're spoiled. We love this team, and we want to see them win. You want to point to excuse here, and excuse here. You're not going to get Jalen Ramsey at the number 27 pick. You're not going to get guys like that.
Dave, anything that you want to add in? We've got a lot of super chats here.
Yeah, I was just going to say the difference with the Steelers in the past and now is they had a franchise quarterback. All you can do right now is you got to see if you got the franchise quarterback moving forward. So that should be the most important thing because, you'll see it in later super chats coming up about, oh, well, this team did this because of, even though they had that. But you know what? It all starts there. And it's just – what are you going to do? You got to go out there next week and play another game. You're not calling up the Bucks and say, you know what? We're kind of injured, we're kind of banged up, and we suck right now. Let's just not play it next week. That's not happening. You got to get ready to go out there and play it again in 7 days.
Play hard. All right.
Play hard.
Wilson Papa gives us $4.99. Said we're not retooling this year. We're rebuilding. We have the first overall right now. Is that true? The Steelers have the first overall pick, maybe. All
because the Texans won.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. Oh my gosh, I don't want to talk about the draft.
No, I don't want to either.
Brandon King gives us another $4.99. Thank you very much. He said, "My point was more: should we look more to free agency instead of relying on the draft always? Aren't we due for a big bag next year?" Dave, what does the salary cap look like for next year? Do we know?
I don't care.
I don't know. You gotta know that.
Oh my goodness. The salary cap next year.
What is the expected space?
Well,
Over the counter always has that stuff.
Over the counter.
Over the counter. Over the cap. That's what
Let me come over the counter. No, I mean right now they have cap space of like $34 million for next year, but they only have 36 players under contract. So you're going to be using that money to fill up stuff and somewhat, and they'll move some things around and this, that, the other stuff. But there's only so much you can do.
Salary cap is a myth anyways. All right.
Right now, man, $22 million hit for Cam Hayward next year is like, come on. That's a lot. So
Jason Purdy gives us another $4.99. He said, stopping Tampa's running game next week will be rough, but Brady's looking very human right now. Doesn't look the same. We can pull it off, but the offense has to score.
Whoa. Did anyone see that replay?
What replay?
Tom Brady, Atlanta's trying to get the ball back to tie or win the game. I can't remember what the score was, but they were down. And they made the play, and they sacked Tom Brady. And on a regular sack, where he goes down, doesn't fall on him, falls to the side to pull him down, they called roughing the passer for Tampa to win the game. It was something. He almost laid him down on the ground. You look at Kenny Pickett getting drilled on that run, and they won't throw a flag. But Tom Brady actually had his shoulder hit the ground while another player touched him, and therefore it was a penalty for them to win.
I'll have to check that out. I'm sure that'll be.
It's bad.
Matty Peverill gives us $7.99 in Dingo dollars. He said, "Well, bad. The way they're playing, they're going to get a top pick, so they'll have a chance to prove you right." Yeah,
Matty. Matty, go back and look at 1988 when they were when they had 4 games to play and they were 2-something, and they were a horrible team. Actually, 88. Yeah, 88. They won 3 of their last 4, and guess what? The fans watching those games were happy because they can't root against their team. So, yeah, great. Wes, I'm sorry, bad. You're wrong. Hey, guess what? Come on the show, Wes, and come up with the great answers that you could come up with to fix this.
All right.
Because you know what? People are dropping footballs. You want to blame everything in drafting? People are dropping balls. This is a bad offense. It's not working. The scheme's bad.
You got to remember, when everything goes right, it's because the Steelers did what you wanted them to do, and whenever everything goes wrong, it's because they didn't do what you wanted them to do.
Correct.
People were thrilled when you drafted Harris, when you drafted this guy, when you brought in James Daniel, when you brought in even Claypool. People were like, hey, I called that Claypool pick. It was awesome. But when it goes wrong, hindsight, I'm probably the only one here that will tell you when I'm wrong.
I'm wrong weekly. I've been... I don't know what else I have to do. I mean, all you do is pay attention.
I was wrong once, but here I was mistaken.
Yes, that's Dave's MO. Knight Rider 16 gives us $5. The Patriots drafted low for 20 plus years and still competed. The Browns and Jets drafted top 5 for several years and still sucked. That's true. Okay, let's go.
The Steelers have competed the last 20 years, and the Patriots missed the playoffs recently.
Well, let's remember one
bad year, Bryan, and it now means that they're the worst. They've been the worst team since the 70s.
Well, let's remember one thing here, folks. It is also just week 6. Now we're in week 6. You know, they played 5 games out of 17. Let's see how things figure out here. Let's go to Liberty Library Com. Says, all I am saying is Kenny is here to stay. The Steelers just need an offensive coordinator that has his size of marbles. We'll put it that way. Defense is a major issue as well. Why so many open players? That is the question of the day.
Yeah.
Wilson Pavas, the game ball this week goes to bad. Throwing out the straight facts. Thank you, Wilson, for the tip. Oh my gosh, you all are.
I'm taking it at $4.99, by the way.
What's that?
That $4.99 is going to me.
That's $1.99.
Okay, then I'm taking $3 from somebody else.
Okay, so
are we even going to look at stats?
I'm trying, Dave. I swear, I'm like trying to run this. I'm going to run this thing right into the rocks. So I'm going to run this show. Okay, Kenny Pickett, 34 of 52, 327 yards. It's a new Steelers record for a rookie quarterback throwing both at completions and yardage as a rookie in their first start. He averaged 6.3 yards per pass, no touchdowns. He was intercepted once, was sacked 3 times. One of those was one of those Mitch Trubisky idiot runs. He's got to learn to just throw the ball away. 74.8 rating. So let's talk specifically KP8. Bryan, what were your thoughts?
Good, but not good enough. You know, I think there's signs of brilliance in him. I really like him as a quarterback. If I go ahead and say that his receivers are dropping balls, then I'm going to get blasted from somebody saying that, hey, it's maybe he's throwing them in bad situations. He's a raw rookie right now. I would have loved to have seen him get at least 1 or 2 touchdowns. I would have not been embarrassed and as upset right now if that game was 38-17. But, you know, Kenny still did not get it in the end zone. But he was put in a lot of positions where they were going backwards when he was going forward. But he was throwing them in some bad spots too.
Dave, thoughts on KP8?
Well, I mean, 206 yards on 21 completions on 32 attempts in the second half when the Bills, were giving up some underneath stuff. But if you can put up a lot of stats in between the 20s, but you've got to finish off. But it was his first start also. You expect this to get better week after week after week after week for the rookie. Yeah, was the interception just a ball that was really underthrown to Deontay Johnson? Yeah, it was. It was at the end of the half, and it didn't cost him anything. But you still don't want to see a pass like that. But if he's going to make a mistake, I'd rather him make it in that situation right there than in an even bigger situation somewhere else. I don't want to just say, oh, well, he gets a pass because he's Kenny Pickett and he was a first-round draft pick and he's a rookie. But you also have it's not that they get a pass, it's just you have different expectations. There is just such different expectations with Kenny Pickett because it's a starting point that it's supposed to be moving forward from. And that point started at halftime last week. It's got to keep moving forward. They got to be able to finish. Don't know that that's all on Kenny, but the whole offense has to be able to finish with however they can get it done.
Here's my thing. the eye test, okay? I did not get to see the entirety of this game because I hate DirecTV. But other than that, the moments that I did get to see, if I were just some lemming that didn't know anything about football, I knew enough to know if I was seeing what was good or bad. But I didn't know Kenny Pickett was a rookie. If I watched that game, would I know he's a rookie? That was the question. And the answer is no. I would not have known that he's a rookie. We know that he's a rookie, and we look for certain things like running out of bounds instead of throwing it away. It equates to a sack. But other than that, I would have not have known that he was a rookie. Then I look at the Buffalo Bills defense, which you still have to remember they deploy a defense here too that is paid a lot of money to stop the opposing offense. Look at their rankings coming into this game. A lot of single digits, a lot of them very straight, up and down, one, league's best. So when you look at things like that, I look at this game in a different lens with Kenny Pickett. I thought he played great. First start on the road, hostile environment, very good defense going up against. Did he make mistakes? Like I said earlier, yes. I thought he played very admirably. Yes, the red zone offense is going to has to be better. Third down has to be better. He also showed some really good stuff on third downs earlier. Like Dave said, those in between the 20s. So you have to, when the field gets shorter, shoot, there were years Ben Roethlisberger, a future Hall of Famer, struggled with this stuff. I mean, what are your expectations? We want them to be high, but they also have to be realistic. So Kenny Pickett, a little split thoughts there. That's fine. Matty Peverill gives us another $7.99 in Dingo dollars. Said, I literally said you will be proven right on that. You know, I don't even think there's good talent after the first 15 picks anyways, far out.
My apologies.
Are you all done? I mean, seriously, goodness gracious. Okay.
I just said my apologies.
I know.
To Matty P.
Yes, we're just trying to move it forward. Here we go. Let's talk about the running game. Not good. Jaylen Warren leads the team with 5 carries, 24 yards. Najee Harris, 11 for 20. Kenny Pickett, 1 for 10. That was before he got blasted as he slid. And then that finishes 17 carries, 54 yards, 3.2. That's not going to help their ranking. So what do y'all think about the running game? They had to abandon it. But Bryan, what were your thoughts?
It's not there. It really, I mean, yeah, they did have to abandon it. So, it's really tough to say. Najee did not do too much. So if I'm giving this running game a grade, I can't give it a very good one.
Dave, thoughts on the running game?
Gets kind of taken away from you based on game situation. I feel that if they would have had more consistency in the running game, you wouldn't have had the 3 and outs in the first half in a row that basically put the game away, meaning not the only thing. There was a lot of things that put that game out of reach early on, but that was one thing. If you were either going to have to shut down the Bills, which wasn't happening, or you had to keep pace, and the Steelers didn't do either. So when you look at it offensively, there were some times where it was run, pass, punt. If you ran the ball more efficiently, consistently, because I mean, there was some great runs on first down as well, some 6-7 yard runs at times on first down. But also, when you run it and you only get 1 yard on first down, do you abandon that and then just go pass? Oh no, incompletion. You can't be swayed in the wind. I see so many complaints that the Steelers abandoned the run too soon or they ran the ball too much. If both of those things are being said, then it's probably somewhere in the middle. They just needed to do a little bit better with it. Man, it takes so many little things that you've got to make sure you continue to do it constantly in order to sustain a drive. And it just didn't happen.
The Steelers were down 17-3 in the blink of an eye. I mean, anyone that's criticizing the running game, what are you doing? You're not going to run your way back into that game. You just weren't. The Bills were scoring in 2 plays. You're not going to run your way back into that game.
The one try was one.
Yeah.
One was 2.
Right. So I'm not going to criticize the running game because they're down by that many points. You're going to throw the ball 51 times with Kenny Pickett to try to get back in.
You have to.
Any criticism of the running game to me in this week is just completely moot. Bryan, go ahead.
The only thing that I'll say is continuing to go to the running play like it was scripted before you decided to let Kenny Pickett throw 51 times. There seemed to be a lot of first down run, second down run, third down. Kenny tried to get us out of trouble.
In other words, Brian, you're saying they should have gone the plan of Pickett having to throw so much, they should have even been willing to go to that plan even sooner. Correct?
If that's what they were foreseeing.
Yeah. They weren't. I don't think. I think it took the Steelers and the coaches a little bit longer to realize when the game was out of reach, but before the rest of us.
This game went sideways really quick.
Yes, it did.
Really quick. And it could have been even worse. It could have been even worse. That's the scary thing. All right, let's get Brandon Keene. He gave us another $4.99. He said 1 game out of second place, 2 games out of first. Just played the best team in the league, rookie quarterback. No defensive player of the year, banged up D. Let's take a breath. Thank you, Brandon, for some kind of bringing it full circle, so to speak, as we continue to talk about that. Tyler W. gives us $2. There were no holes. Could not open things up. Yeah, but there's no holes. It's pretty obvious. They could just pin their ears.
Sometimes there were. They ran well, but not all the time.
Yeah. Knight Rider 16 gives us $10. And sometimes I feel like the run design out of the shotgun is just too easy to identify for the defense. Plus, the running back doesn't get a running start lined up beside the quarterback. Well, here's what I would love to see, Knight Rider. If you're going to have the quarterback in shotgun, you do what we all said Ben Roethlisberger couldn't do. Run, pass, options. That's how you keep a defense honest, is you let the quarterback, and Kenny Pickett is very adept at putting the ball in the running back's belly, reading the tackles, pulling it. He can run it. He can throw it. Use your players to their best abilities. And they're still figuring out Kenny Pickett. I understand that, but you're right. They don't have the quarterback under center a lot. So we'll see. We should see. All right, let's go to the receivers here. George Pickens leads the Steelers, 6 catches on 8 targets for 83 yards. Deontay Johnson, 5 catches on 13 targets for 60 yards. Chase Claypool, 5 of 9 targets for 50. Zach Gentry, 5 of 6 for 43. Jalen Warren, 4 for 39. Najee Harris, 3 for 16. And Connor Hayward, Pat Freiermuth, Miles Boykin, and Derek Watt all caught passes in this game. What do you think about the pass catchers? Brian, we'll start with you.
George Pickens, I think he's phenomenal. How many targets did you say? 7?
Who?
George Pickens.
Pickens had 8.
8? He had 6 catches on
6
8
catches
targets.
on 8 targets.
Okay, I'm not remembering the 2 that he missed.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of them as well. I think they were late. Like one of those.
One was in the fourth quarter because I was listening on the radio when the game got shut off, and they said it would have been a really difficult catch. I think it was along the sideline.
One was the hand and the foot in the hand going down that was out of bounds. And Dave explained that the hand is not going to count.
That's something in the NFL, the rule that they have, where they say any body part except a hand equals a foot.
Well, then you could have told Tony Romo that because he was begging for them to challenge that.
I wasn't on TV at that time, and that's why they didn't say anything on the radio. Yeah.
So, I think Pickens is absolutely phenomenal. I think he's a gamer. I think he knows it. I think he's the superstar of that team. But the 2 guys that need to be catching the ball better did not. We talked about that early on. So if you're looking at individuals, Pickens is great. The tight ends, don't have a problem with the tight ends, but I'm pointing my finger at Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. I thought Johnson was worse than Claypool this week.
All right, Dave, thoughts on the pass catchers?
Thoughts on the pass catchers. Just catch the passes. And we're good. There was, catch it. I mean, I'm not saying that they didn't catch it. I'm just saying you've got the pass catcher's job right now is to do everything for your young quarterback. I think I said it earlier in the show. You've got to do everything for your young quarterback to where his mistakes aren't magnified. So therefore your mistakes have to be negligible, so small that they don't even matter. That's what really that's the job of the pass catchers right now. And they still need to get there.
What about when your quarterback makes really good throws and you don't make those catches either?
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I talked about this earlier in the show in case you late joining us or you were just asleep. And it is that the Steelers pass catchers just need to make the easy catches. What is it? Mike Tomlin always says, make the routine catches routinely.
Yeah.
And then make those extra catches that you're going to help out your quarterback. And that's the case with every quarterback in the NFL. Sometimes you got to be bailed out, a bad throw. I think back to last week against the Jets when everyone loved the play by Pickett when Quinnen Williams is bearing down on him. He gets that pass off to Freiermuth. That was a phenomenal catch by Pat Fryermuth. No one is giving him the credit that he needs when it came to it was behind him. And it was understandably so behind him because he had to get rid of the ball so quick. Great catch. He made a play for his quarterback. George Pickens makes plays for his quarterback. The other guys have to do it as well. Okay, I feel like we talked about let's talk about the offensive line here. They gave up 3 sacks. Again, we talked about one of those was on Pickett when he scrambled the old Mitch Trubisky sack. So what did you all think about the offensive line? Dan Moore, a couple false starts. But ultimately, what are your thoughts? Bryan, go ahead.
I thought slightly better than average. I think they're improving. The problem in this game was, I mean, you're going to get sacks, especially with a defense like that. The biggest problem for me in this game was what we just talked about, that it was the fact that Pickett was getting the ball off and his guys were not helping him out. So the offensive line, when they give up 1 or 2, and if he's being chased and he throws and they drop him, they're not helping the offensive line out. But the thing about this is I don't feel like Kenny Pickett was running for his life.
Okay. Dave, offensive line?
Well, if you're talking about 55 dropbacks with 3 sacks, that's a pretty low percentage. But I'm also going to say something else. With the way the things started with the game, with us being able to watch it, the way things finished with the game, being able to watch it, it's hard to assess the offensive line when you're doing it on the radio. It really is. I'm going to have to go back and watch the replay with NFL Plus in order to try to see what to say there. I'll just say it once again because I said it before. I don't know how his play was the rest of the game, but James Daniels going to bat for Kenny Pickett, that right there gives him a gold medal for me.
Yeah. So we'll see. Let's talk about the defense because they did give up 38 points in the game. And yes,
I want to talk about that a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, someone in the live chat said you guys are talking about the pass catchers, but we always start with
we
the
always
offense
go
first.
through it.
We always go through this way. So, like, if you're just first time listener, just understand it's the way we do it. The defense gives up 38. Let's listen to this here. Josh Allen, 20 of 31, only throws it 31 times for 424 yards, a 13.7 average, 4 touchdowns. All in the first half, was it? I think no.
Yes,
No,
because
yes.
I think their second half touchdown was a rush.
It was
You're right.
James Cook.
He was intercepted 1 time by Levi Wallace of the Steelers, former Bill. Did not get sacked. It was at a 134.1 rating. That's almost perfect. And I look at the Steelers quarterback hits. They had one stinking quarterback hit, and it's from Minkah Fitzpatrick. What did I miss there? I don't even remember that play. So yeah, the pass rush was non-existent. The big plays were numerous, whether it's on the ground, whether, James Cook's 24-yard run, Devin Singletary had a 23-yard run, Josh Allen had a 21-yard run. Then you talk about passing, you had a 98-yard pass to Gabe Davis. You had a 41-yarder to Stephon Diggs, a 31-yarder to Khalil Shakir, Isaiah Hodgins with 26, Quentin Morris with 26. It's incredible how fast the Bills move the ball down the field and just in chunks. It was not a methodical, we're going to lull you to sleep, dink and dunk, West Coast style. It was, we're going to ram the ball right down your throat one way or the other. So, Bryan, like, the floor is open with the defense. I'm going to let you pick what we talk about first because there's a myriad of ways we could go.
All right. Here's the problem. I know we had injuries come into play. We're not making that excuse. If we tried to, it just doesn't work. Those guys aren't in there. Here's the problem. I saw nothing that I loved on defense. Sure, it's nice to get an interception by Levi Wallace, but they had their way with this team. There was, just from the very beginning, a third down and a 98-yard pass just should not happen in that situation. The biggest play in Buffalo Bills history, the biggest play to go against the Steelers in history on a pass play on offense. It's never been worse. And when they were on the 1-yard line, Tony Romo you probably didn't hear this because you didn't have the game, but Tony Romo made a comment. Well, it could be even worse for the Steelers on this one. They could go 99. And that's,
I heard that one.
and the thing about it, there was, we talked about the offense for a long time, and they didn't do anything to keep the Steelers in this game, but the defense kept them out of the game. There's a difference. The offense was fighting to get back through it. The defense, as bad as the offense was, the defense was 1,000 times worse to me.
Well, let's also keep this in mind because Tyler W gives us $2 and he says the defense kept the score from being 45-3. Yay. You think about the turnovers that the Bills had, both were in the red zone. The interception by Levi Wallace, probably at least a field goal, and then a goal line fumble into the end zone for a touchback.
Inches.
I mean, when you think about that, you're looking at this could have gotten even, worse beyond belief. So I don't know. Dave, go ahead. You have the floor now. Talk about the defense. Go ahead.
I'm going to throw this out for both defense and offense. And this is, if you're frustrated with the coaches, this should really be your point of emphasis. And that is, why is it the other team can scheme to get what they want against you rather than you do what you want against them on both sides of the ball? The Bills can scheme Stephon Diggs being guarded by Robert Spillane.
Yep.
How can you do that? You should have it better than that. Is it that what you're doing is just known so much, or you don't really have enough flexibility within your own scheme to keep those kind of things from happening? Now, I also understand when your cornerbacks at the end of the game are Josh Jacobs and James Pierre. Wow, if you would have told me that going into week one, that's going to be who's going to be finishing out your games before 6 weeks into the season, I would have been like, okay, James Pierre must be playing very well. And who? That's frustrating, but just take the excuses out of it. Just why is it that the defense has to react to the offense? Why can't the defense impose their will? I understand they were trying to cover for a lot. I mean, you're basically asking Minkah Fitzpatrick to try to cover for not having your other safety that you used to play with. You're asking Alex Highsmith to be as much as TJ Watt as you can because he's not out there as well. But it comes to a point where it's just like, you know what? This is what we got. Let's just go. I would have been okay if the Steelers would have taken a shot of trying to do something different and it didn't work. I'm trying to remember a couple years ago when they did that in a game they were not supposed to win. They took the shot, it didn't work, and Coach Tallman said, we tried something different, and it actually worked worse for us. Oh, well. I would have been fine with that here because lining up against that team, it was really frustrating to see the defense. I mean, they hold them to a 3rd and long, and next thing you know, there's just a wide open guy on the sideline that they just complete the pass to. It's almost like it didn't matter. Well, we know what the Steelers will do on 3rd down. So if we do good things on the first 2 downs, that's fine. But we know we're going to get this look on 3rd down, and we'll be able to run these plays, and it won't be a problem. It's almost like you might as well take a knee for 2 downs and say, so we can get your 3rd down defense because we know exactly how to beat it.
Yeah. And here's what this all stems back to. Fans want change. They want some type of change. So when this happens, the Steelers get blown out on the road, they want to see a change. Like, let's see the change. The media is asking Mike Tomlin about this in the post-game press conference. And I wish Mike Tomlin would have said, what change do you think will be actually an improvement? So Robert Spillane has issues in coverage. We know this. This is not new. What else are you going to do? Mark Robinson? Is he better in coverage? I don't think so. He's had some issues there in training camp in the preseason. Is Marcus Allen better? Miles Killebrew? Maybe. I don't know. The problem is that the team doesn't have really a lot of answers on their current roster. And someone brought up in the live chat, oh man, at what point does the scouting department get blamed? Because there's no depth on this team at all. Every team, when you have a ton of injuries, starts to deal with this. You lose your defensive player of the year. And I was the one that said it can't be just one guy. It shouldn't be, but it is. So I asked you this question before we go to final thoughts. Which streak ends first? The Steelers find a way. I guess let me just ask you this way. Will the Steelers ever win a game without TJ Watt? Bryan, go ahead.
I really think so. I really think so. I mean, for some reason, I'm thinking it's next week. I'm already telling you right now. I'm calling for them to beat Tampa and the Buccaneers if they can get some luck, if they can play a sound game. But we haven't seen them do that. TJ Watt's not going to be back for 3 or 4 weeks, maybe, with this possible last setback. They've got to win before then. And we've seen this before where they'll turn out a win, even when they're horrible. They'll go ahead and throw in a win there to start messing with us. We saw this team be 2-6 in 2013 at the break. We saw 2006 be 2-6 at the halfway point, and they both end up 8-8. One was a Cowher coach team, one was a Tomlin coach team. So, and they even started at 0-4 that year. Sometimes they get together because other teams have problems too. I really don't foresee this team, and this is honestly, this is me being honest. I don't see them being the worst team in the NFL this year. Right now, I'm not going to say that they're going to put it together and put this big win streak together because the components don't seem to be there. But this streak is going to they're going to win a game before TJ Watt comes back.
All right, Dave, will they ever win a game without TJ Watt?
Yeah. I just don't know if it'll be this year or not. We'll have to see. Depends on how long TJ Watt's out, honestly. If it's past the bye or not.
I think it's after the bye. That's
I mean, but I'm like Bryan. I'm still looking for the next week. And you know what's really good? The Pittsburgh Steelers aren't playing the Buffalo Bills this next week. Some people are like, "Oh, it's the Tampa Bay Bucks." I think the Bills would have crushed the Bucks today too. Probably not 38-3 crush, but I think they would have as well. So a lot of this looks really bad. It really does. But all you can do is come out and play again next week. You're not, I said it before, you're not handing in the season and saying, we're not going to play anymore. This team's got to come out and see what they can do. And you've got to find something to build on. You got to find something to build on. And like Bryan was saying, George Pickens, Kenny Pickett, that could be your one thing that you're just going to try to build on. Okay. But build on something, get moving forward. But man, I think Jeff said this for a while. It's going to be a rough ride.
Yes.
That wasn't my closing thoughts though, because I have other stuff for that.
I'll do my closing thoughts. I'll do my final thoughts first. And that is that as a coach, when I coached, and yes, it was high school, and it wasn't football, it doesn't matter. There were games where you had these types of performances. And you know what we do? We would watch the film, and then after they say, we're not watching that again. And I would literally just put it aside. We're moving on. There's no need to dwell on it anymore. We're moving on. Defensively, what is there to be gleaned from that other than look at all the mistakes you all made? Instead, let's focus on doing it right against Tampa Bay. Let's get Tampa Bay's defense, their offensive scheme. Let's figure it out. Let's try to get the best team we have. You just got to start moving forward. And it's difficult as fans. We dwell on this stuff more than players do, probably. Why? Because the players have to physically start to prepare their bodies for next week, starting now. We go to jobs, go to school, go to whatever, and we sit and think about it. And we're around friends, and they like other teams. And maybe you live in Maryland, and you're around the stupid purple team fans, and they're like, oh, you guys stink. Well, yeah, right now the Steelers do stink.
Yeah, they do.
We dwell on it. The team is going to try. They have to. You just got to throw this one in the trash, and you got to try to move on. And hopefully, a Brian Davis prediction coming to fruition next week, a win against Tampa Bay would be just what the doctor ordered. So we will see. I want to get this on the screen first. Liberty Library Com gives us $2. Did we get a TD? Geesh. No, they didn't. Thank you for the tip, though. All right, Dave or Bryan, whoever wants to go. Bryan, go ahead. You can do your final thoughts.
Boy, have I've been struggling being positive today, and we're all frustrated. You are all frustrated. I get it. You have every right to be frustrated with this team. I'm frustrated too, but where my frustration is trying to figure out where the wins are going to come this season, and I'm not ready to write it off. It could be because no matter how hard you try, it's hard to root against the team that you've always supported. Just to get that certain draft pick that you don't even know that's going to pan out. We've seen runs. We've seen 1-4 recently with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph at quarterback, and they got up to 8-5. Am I saying that's not going to happen? But that's what I'm watching for. So everybody, I encourage you to find out what's going to make you stick around. And obviously, if there were 550 people in the live chat today, then you're sticking around. You're frustrated and you're spewing venom because you're angry, and that's okay. But what I want you to do is figure out when your breaking point is. And when they win, are you going to have the satisfaction when they win that second game and that fourth game? If it happens, that's what you got to ask yourself. What's more important? Seeing them win when they're struggling and have that aha moment that might just light a fire, or rooting for them to lose just so you can pick a guy next year?
All right, Dave, go ahead. Final thoughts.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff early, middle, and late. A few times people coming up about Presley Hartman, and I could break into that. But, us saying that this team stinks, apparently all we're doing is making excuses for them, because some people in the live chat, or I would say, no, I don't want to call them that, but it does rhyme with Schmidiot. But I will say this. All the punts were terrible in one direction, and all the punts were good in the other. So
the other team just didn't punt.
Well, and when they did, they punted in the right direction. So this is a really tough one to gauge the punting on. If you want to do it, gauge it on one where the wind wasn't absolutely insane. But now let's move on to actually talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know what we might be dealing with? How many years has Steelers fans heard that this team isn't very good, and we expect them to finish last in the division, from the national pundits and things like that, and we're like, nah, these people don't know what they're talking about. And what has the Steelers done? They've turned around. They've become first and second of the division. They've done much better than what's been expected over years past. It might finally be that Steelers fans heard that the Steelers aren't very good, and they just simply aren't very good. But you're only as bad as your last game, and you're only as good as your last game. So the Steelers are really bad right now. They've got to come out and give a better performance this week, or it's just going to be more of this type of discussion after the game. But you know what? We'll still be here for it.
Absolutely. So this was a tough one, and we went long. Thank everyone for joining us. We had over 550 at one point in both Facebook and YouTube watching live. If you could give us a subscription to YouTube, that would be fantastic. If you don't like the page on Facebook, do that as well. Make sure you check out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, and know that we have so many more than podcasts than just what you are hearing right now on YouTube and or Facebook. Check us out on our wherever you get your podcast by searching Steelers or Behind the Steel Curtain. You have shows like Bad Language with Bryan, Dave Statgeek, My Let's Ride podcast every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Check those out as well. We will be back next week after the Tampa Bay game in Week 6. Take it easy, everyone.